Welcome to LBM Talks Social Media. I'm Sally Lacey, the social media manager for LBM Journal, and every other week I have conversations with lumber dealers from around the country about how they're using social media to grow their business. I hope you stick around, because it's time to get social. Andrew Beasley, welcome to LBM Talks Social Media.
Thanks, Sally. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm really looking forward to this episode.
Me too. Let's just start it out, Andrew. If you could share with us who you work for, where you guys are located, and who you are, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. So to start off, my name's Andrew, and I'm the marketing coordinator for Grant Home Hardware Building Centers. So we're a series of 3 building center stores located in Northern Ontario, and we operate under the Home Hardware banner. Each of our 3 stores, they're Home Hardware Building Centers. Home Hardware also, there's also the Home Hardware banner, the Home Furniture banner. There is also a Home Building Center banner. And the Home Hardware Building Center is the one that, I would say has the widest array of product. We have, each store has its own lumber yard full of lumber, concrete, building materials, ICF, you name it, right? And then inside the store, we have, at our 2 locations, also a kitchen and flooring department dedicated to just that. And then the hardware store itself, we also have some home decor in each of the stores. And, quite a few other things. But so I was hired last October. I'm coming up on a year being here. Home Hardware is, it's quite a large company. We've got just under 1,100 locations across Canada. But again, I'm employed by, Grant Home Hardware Building Centers. So our 3 stores up here in New Liskeard, Kirkland Lake, and Temagami, which is about a 150 kilometer stretch of Highway 11. So about 100 miles or so of the Trans-Canada Highway. Yeah.
So you guys must be a pretty massive store if you have all of these different departments, right?
Quite large. I don't know if I could give you a square footage number, but if you went on maps there and looked us up, we're a good sized store. I'd say, the largest in our area for sure.
Yeah, I've seen that in your videos. It looks like a really big store, and I've been on your website and saw that you guys sell building materials too, and I was like, dang. So Home Hardware, they're kind of a co-op, right? Because
I know people compare them to co-op because I know we don't have them in Ontario. I was actually just out in Alberta this summer, and they do have locations out west, but I'm not sure if they service just the west or if it's also the east side of Ontario as well. But we don't have co-op here. No.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, we just have some businesses like that in the US that are connected with our audience. So it's trying to make a connection, but yeah. So you've been with them for about a year. You're the marketing coordinator, and you also manage 100% of your social media presences.
Exactly. Yes. So we have 3 accounts, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I create, upload, schedule, plan all of the content that we throw up on all three of those platforms. Sometimes, it's posted to all 3. Sometimes it's, specifically targeted at, one of those platforms, but it is exciting. I do get quite busy though, especially creating the content, but it's a lot of fun. I get to, express myself creatively quite a bit. And, a lot of our other employees get to join in on the fun also. So, very rewarding. I've very much enjoyed it. And, it's been a great journey so far.
Yeah. So when you mentioned that sometimes you post all the content to all 3 of those platforms and sometimes you don't, what would be some of those reasons that would hinder you from posting one video to all 3 platforms and just posting it to maybe 1 or 2?
So with the videos in particular, like almost everything we do with, the videos that we post, it's going to be a reel. It's going to be short form content. So in that case, we'll post it on all three, right? It works on Reels, it works on TikTok. It's the same kind of content. I'd say where we're picking and choosing would be more, or I should use the word targeting, our content would be on something like Facebook. Things that are very community oriented or have a lot to do with the store and our staff, stuff that's a bit more personal, we'll put on our Facebook. It's where we have our largest following, but it's not that we necessarily have more engagement on there. It's that, the people who do follow us are almost exclusively live in, the areas that we service, right? Like they're in our servicing area, they're our neighbors. So if it's someone's birthday, maybe a retirement, we had a really cool, it was just last week actually, we had a theme day. And here at our new Liskeard store, people were dressed up as their favorite movie characters. So we went and took photos of everybody in costume, and I made some like little movie posters. So like mimicking the poster for the movie of the character that they're dressed up as. But stuff like that, where you're seeing a lot of, our employees and stuff that's community facing, like, events that are happening that we sponsor, things that we're attending, that'll go to Facebook. But something like what you had seen, the board stretcher, that would be for all three, Reels and TikTok.
Yeah, no, you bring up a great point that I've also seen, of course, here in the US, is that Facebook is so heavily rooted in like the local physical communities. And that's really like its superpower, I feel like, for Facebook. Yeah, so Andrew brought up this video that is the board stretcher. And I'm definitely going to have to share this on our Instagram story when this episode comes out. But I'm pretty sure this was the video that I saw that introduced me to you guys. And it's a video that went viral. It's a video that you obviously made and posted. So was that kind of your first viral video that you had made?
I would definitely say it was our first truly viral one. We've had other videos in the past, on TikTok, maybe accrued 10,000 or so views, but we hadn't seen anything like that yet, which was really cool. And, having it happen sort of from it, like it was a same day idea. I had forgot that it was April Fool's. Oh my gosh. I forgot it was April Fool's, and I think it was that day. It was like April 1st. I came into the office and everyone was like, "What are we doing for April Fool's?" And I forgot it was April Fool's. So I started thinking of like, okay, well, what are some jokes or pranks that you see maybe that are hardware related, whatever. And then I thought, job site, and I thought, I recalled some of my own, sort of blue collar working experiences. I worked in the lumberyard of our Temagami store. And this is sort of a universal experience, I think, for anybody who's worked, a job like that, is having a supervisor kind of mess with you a little bit. They'll ask you to grab something that doesn't exist. So, he asked me like, "Hey, can you go grab me the board stretcher?" And I was like, "What's that?" I kind of put together though that he was like messing with me, but it came back that April Fool's Day, and I was like, "Okay, well, how am I going to stretch the board?" So it was very quiet in the store, which was nice because I enlisted, the help of some of our employees. But I explained the idea to it was our service desk manager, and I said like, "Hey, I want to do this video board stretcher," and he's worked in construction, so he immediately got the joke. And it took a few hours, a bit of movie magic, but it was just one of those spur of the moment, like, let's make this thing. And I was making it, it was kind of coming together, and I had a really good feeling about it. And I put it up, and it was pretty instant. Like, it was within an hour or two of putting it up, the algorithm picked it up and it just kept on going.
Yeah, that was such a creative video, which really, like, you guys really stick out to me as very creative, which I think is so great. And also, yeah, you bring up such a true point of the job of a social media manager, which is kind of doing things on the spot. You can plan out, like social media, you can plan out specific posts, but I would say half of it is definitely like coming up with ideas that same day, you know, if something comes up, and like using that creativity to make something.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. It was, again, like a lot of our videos, it's, you know, it's something where it clicks. And if it's an idea that I think is worth, you know, if I can't give it a shot that day, I make sure to write it down, or, you know, at least revisit it. But, you know, it can be very spur of the moment things, and it's definitely worth it to act on those impulses, then avoid them or second guess yourself. Just go ahead and do it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but you won't really know until you try. And, you know, it definitely worked out for us that we did.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because I mean, I also do this job, and I have those doubts and those second thoughts. So that's great advice. I'm curious kind of what your job looks like. You are the marketing coordinator, but kind of what does your day-to-day look like? Because you guys post a lot of content. I'm not sure how often, but yeah, walk me through kind of like what your job looks like.
Okay, yeah. So my day-to-day would be, I would say just about every day is different. Like, I don't have an hour to, you know, relegated to each thing. It's sort of just continuously producing content, scheduling content that we get from our head office even. They do a really good job of supporting us, you know, in our portal. We're able to pull, you know, certain social media materials that they produce for us. And those support our like retail sales campaigns. We have 10 a year, and those work alongside our flyers. So they give us materials to support those marketing initiatives, you know, all the way from corporate, and we can execute them at store level. So if I'm planning content, you know, I have my general rule of thumb is 3 short form videos a week, right? And then I fill in the gaps with a lot of the materials that they supplement from head office. But then, you know, there is stuff that just sort of, it changes so frequently, and, you know, end of season sales, or we have a special on something, producing graphics for that. So I spend a lot of time on Canva, and then, you know, TikTok or CapCut editing videos. We receive a lot of sponsorship requests, donation requests, things like that. So those also have to touch me at some point, just to make sure that, you know, we're getting the word out, some of the, you know, local initiatives that we sponsor. So it sort of comes at me, and it's not, you know, the same thing day to day, but those are my core responsibilities, I would say. Some things take longer than others. It can take a while to see something through. Just, you know, staying on top of things is very important though. So, you know, always making sure you have a checklist and a calendar and you're checking it, because, you know, one day it might be loads and loads and loads of one thing, editing videos or whatever, making videos, especially if I'm visiting another store. But then other days it's just, you know, planning and getting an idea of your next week, right?
Oh, totally. 100%. Yeah. So when you talk about these campaigns that corporate sends you versus something like the board stretcher, kind of two different styles, like one really has a purpose, which is to promote maybe a certain product or something like that. What would you say is like the benefit of posting more entertaining content that maybe doesn't have like a specific promotion, you know, or something like that?
Yeah. And for me, the easiest, most clear-cut way to explain it would be just, it brings more people to our page. So when we do have something that's a little bit more thought out and has a lot more strategy behind it, like, you know, the materials that support those campaigns that we get from head office, you know, they see it. And, you know, increasing our follower count the number of people that even just visit our page is really important. And I feel like you can use the organic engagement that you generate with those entertaining videos and, see it bleed into the stuff that isn't quite as entertaining, but is equally as important, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are there any ways that you take the content given to you by corporate, which I'm not exactly sure what that is, if it's photo, video, and you try to do you ever kind of try to spin it into more of a fun way, or do you usually just kind of run it the way that it is?
Usually just run it the way that it is. The stuff that they give us is very polished. Like they have graphic designers working on it, teams of people who have made these ads. Some of it, you might even see on TV. There's articles that there's links to that they've written that we just have to post on our page so that people go and visit it. So I would say that like they'll hand us a finished product for, an ad or a piece of social media content. And, I just find a way to fit it into, not just our schedule, but, sometimes you can tie things in if it's already on sale. But I would say for the content itself, it's its own advertisement. It's its own piece of content.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of thinking about running it back a little bit. When I originally reached out to you, you kind of talked about this organic growth that you've had. Maybe was it in the last 4 months? I think you said something like that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you've been here for a year, but if there's kind of a story behind this organic growth, I would love to hear kind of how that's been.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reason I used that 4-month number was because that was sort of when the board stretcher took off, and it was only a week or two before that we started posting stuff that was targeted to just engage our audience, bring in new viewers. Before that, the first few months, I'll be honest, were a bit rough for me because it was hard to figure out exactly what kind of content I wanted to make. It was a little bit of paralysis by analysis, right? Where you're looking and looking and looking for a problem to solve and some kind of perfect solution for it. So we tried a couple different campaigns. We tried, doing loss leaders, we coined it deal of the week, just to see if we could, if it would be effective in any way. And ultimately it wasn't. And it was a lot of work and we weren't seeing any results on our social media or in store. So it was around March there that we, sat down with the store managers and our owner, and we were just like, they said they wanted to see more, I would say, content that, builds our brand, something that will generate awareness. It went from product focus to brand focus, right? Like the Grant Home Hardware brand, how people perceive us and our community, right? And one of the big things is being approachable, fun, a place you want to go, right? Because oftentimes if you're going to a hardware store, something's broken, you want it to be an enjoyable experience. And, knowing the staff and seeing our faces and everything was a bit more important than just posting a graphic that says 50% off, right? We saw a lot of success after, it started making content that was more focused on being entertaining and less, I don't want to say informative, but it wasn't just an advertisement, right? It was something entertaining. We wanted to connect with our audience, on a deeper level.
Which is, it's like sometimes we try to fit our motives into, like when you're coming into a platform like social media and trying to do traditional advertising, it's just not going to necessarily work because they're different. And so you guys it seems like you sat down and you like really kind of aligned yourself with the platforms themselves. Yeah, exactly.
And that's, it's something that it took a little bit to figure out, right? It's, an advertisement like that, something where, we have a low price on this. It's only effective if you kind of put it in front of someone's face And, we have social media, and one of the benefits of it is you can bring people to your page by making something that's entertaining and engaging.
Interesting.
Right? I think that's where we started seeing a lot more success with social media. It was when we realized like, hey, wait, like we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. People go on this platform to be entertained, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was a big turning point for us. And that's why I said that 4-month, number. I think back when we started going back and forth was just, it had been about that long since we were doing the stuff that was driving organic engagement, through entertainment.
That's such a great way of putting it. A flyer is only really going to be effective if you put it in front of somebody's face, whereas social media is like, you kind of have to work for it. Like you have to work for the attention. You have to like provide something you have to provide first in order to, get that attention. It's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, no, then thank you. And we genuinely do believe that. And the more that we've stuck to that and trusted it, I think it's really starting to show it's a winning strategy.
I love that. I love that, trusting it. Because sometimes it can be seen as not professional or like not business-like, but just kind of leaning into it and trusting that you know what is going to do best. And I love that. That viral video. So that kind of gave you the success that you were looking for when you mentioned like kind of the engagement. What, other than just a viral video, how else did that video kind of impact your stores and your brand?
I think it did a lot for us in that it also created buzz, not just on the platform itself, but like in store, talking to people in our community. It was sort of fun, bumping into friends and they would bring up, this video that you posted and it's for work and you're having fun chatting about it. And it is really cool to see the buzz that happens outside of just what you see in the comments or, however many likes or views you have. The one thing I'll say is that with us being a smaller community, when stuff, happens, you hear about it. So I think there was definitely a bit of a residual effect in that people were talking about this thing that was going on online, which was, this viral video. Mm-hmm. And because of that, it made it a lot easier for me to, approach and ask some of our employees if they want to be a part of the videos, because it's a bit easier to want to be a part of it or to trust, because, it's a big thing asking somebody to, film you doing something for a video for social media, because, the whole world can see it if they want to, right? It's a big thing for people. And I think seeing that video do so well and have such a positive reaction really encouraged our staff to join us and, to not be afraid to put themselves out there, on social media with us. And yeah.
Was that kind of a struggle before that video kind of went out, was like getting people to participate at all?
A little bit, because, it's hard to ask somebody to do something when they're like, like my job is to make the video, right? But the people that participate in the videos with me, our staff, like they are truly wonderful, but I would also never blame them for not wanting to be in a video or put their face on social media, right? Mm-hmm. So being able to just positively encourage them instead of just, asking felt really, really, really good.
Yeah. I think that's kind of a common experience for most social media managers. I've experienced it. I've talked to people who have experienced it. And it's definitely like kind of a problem to solve, because it's like, if I don't have people in my video, like how am I going to make a video?
Exactly, right.
Yeah, you kind of just got to work around it, figure it out. And that's great advice to to encourage people and all that. Have there been any other challenges that you've experienced as in your journey?
I would say that was a big one. I think also something that, sort of naturally sorted itself out was, I worked in the lumber yard at our Temagami store a few years ago, but at the same time, and then my dad's a cabinet maker, but I still don't know, coming into this role, as, will be the case with a lot of people coming into a role like this, especially in LBM, is just product knowledge, right? Knowing what you're advertising at times. Because again, you're making customer facing content that needs to be, it needs to be correct. It needs to be accurate, needs to be specific. There's so many little nuances to the different types of lumber that we carry even, right? And that stuff like that takes a while to pick up on. And something we did to solve that was my office was initially, there's an office of about 10 people for Grant Home Hardware building centers that oversee operations, at all 3 stores, right? Mm-hmm. I was up there in the office, and then they actually brought me down here closer to the floor. And one of the benefits of that was, gaining a better understanding of how the business works, store level, really seeing, how customers interact with, with our employees, understanding the differences between different, building materials, hardware, tools, building that knowledge and, what we do, what we sell, is very, very important, if you want to make impactful content.
Yeah, 100%. I've heard that from other building material dealers too. But I'm curious, Andrew, if you could leave us with, in your experience, what has worked and what has not, and then also maybe some advice you have for other LBM dealers on how to do this.
Absolutely. Okay, what to do versus what not to do. I would say don't be afraid to, express yourself a little bit in the content that you're making. Don't, and this is going to sound like, don't be afraid to embarrass yourself, as long as it's not something that's inappropriate. You're really not gonna, you're not gonna get better at something until you do it, enough. You need to practice, and with practice comes failure. And you'll post duds, things that you may look back on in a couple months and just be like a little bit cringed out by. But it's better to embrace that and use it as a way to learn, and just constantly try to improve, or even just when you're on social media at home, which I think is another important thing, is utilizing trends that you're seeing on your own device, and understanding that putting those things into your videos makes them more effective, because there's a reason that you're seeing it when you're on your phone at home, right?
Totally.
Even if there's not a direct crossover, maybe it's a trend that has nothing to do with building materials, but a lot of our videos don't necessarily. I see lots of content from other home hardware dealers, across Canada, and they'll be using sounds from Love Island, or different pop culture moments that just kind of happen. Not being afraid to join in on the fun, I guess.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to, embarrass yourself in doing so, because it's the only way you'll get better at it. Not that we're doing it perfectly in any way, but we're definitely a lot better than we were. So
yeah, that's definitely advice that I need to take also. And I actually was thinking, when I was kind of writing up some questions for this, is I noticed that you guys, maybe I've missed a few, but I've noticed you don't hop on as many trends as maybe I see other people, but you create a lot of original content. I'm curious if there's a reason behind that, and also like where the heck you come up with these ideas. Like, I guess it's probably what you were saying before, is just running with an idea you have, kind of as a creative person.
Yeah, I would say the reason we don't hop on quite as many trends, a lot of them are very, it's funny. I find the original ideas sometimes don't take as long to produce as the stuff that's a bit more viral, or sometimes there's trends that I'll miss just because, like, for instance, the Love Island one. I've been seeing a bit of it, but then it's, I also don't really know it myself, right? So it's easier for me to hop on the trends or the sounds or whatever's going on social media that I get on my screen. Because even on my work phone, I was trying to, I wanted my algorithm to produce, building material centric, content or things that I find funny, but it's slowly morphed into my own For You page.
Right.
And
oh my gosh, me too.
On TikTok. So it's, that's a bit tricky, but for the creative ideas, the creative videos that we make, I would say, it seriously is just a lot of brainstorming. Like sometimes I'll sit here, at least 30 minutes a day. You've got to scroll and just look at other videos, what other people are doing, if it's a trend. But then the original ideas, like they just kind of happen. And, I would say the best thing to do is just write them down. And, no idea is, it's, if it pops into your head, you should probably write it down. And don't discount it as, a worthless idea until you've tried it.
Yeah, I believe that also. I found that when I usually take, because I have some other responsibilities too, but I'll take at least a day. That's my goal, is to just sit down and work on social media content every week, which involves brainstorming. So yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think you guys are doing really innovative stuff. I mean, there are a lot of other dealers that I see in our area that are, making reels and making creative content. But your kind of original ideas are really creative. And obviously that board stretcher one, a lot of people thought so too. So I'm going to just encourage all of our listeners to go check Andrew and his team out on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. It's Grant. They can find you at Grant Home Hardware, right?
Yes. Grant Home Hardware. Like, I'm not sure if that'll be backwards or not. It might be, but
I don't think it is.
Awesome. Okay, great.
Yeah. So, any last words, Andrew?
Just a huge thank you for having me on. I really, really appreciate it. This is my first time doing something like this, and I had a great time. Thank you so much. And I would really appreciate it if you guys went and took a look at our stuff, because we're quite proud of it. So thank you.
Well, the board stretcher opened up all of these doors, this being one of them. So
it did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was great to meet you.
You as well. Thank you so much, Sally.